and welcome to Online Business Uncovered. This is episode 139, and in today's episode I'm going to be talking about the one line that can make or break your online course sales. So let's jump right in and let's get started. Welcome to Online Business Uncovered, the show that lifts the lid on what it really takes to turn your brilliance into digital products, passive income, and time freedom. I am your host, Karen, an online business strategist, course creation expert, and your go-to for building a business that works for you and not the other way around. If you are an ambitious entrepreneur feeling overwhelmed, burnt out, or maybe you're just ready for a smarter, more sustainable way to grow, then you're in the right place. Because each week I'll be bringing you inspiring conversations, practical strategies, and step-by-step guidance to help you create scalable, repeatable digital products that sell even while you sleep. So if you're ready to stop trading your time for money, reclaim your time, and finally build a business that gives you the freedom that you deserve, hit subscribe and tune in every Thursday. Let's uncover what's truly possible for you, starting now. Hello and welcome to another episode of Online Business Uncovered. I am your host, Karen, and I really do appreciate you hitting the play button to listen to today's episode. Now, today's episode is sponsored by the Digital Creators Hub, which is my free community that has been designed to help you turn your expertise into scalable offers that gives you back your freedom. Now, each month I deliver a masterclass, and if you are in the community, then you will get an invite into that masterclass where I talk about lots of different things. And my masterclass coming up in November is all about how to create your passive income strategy. So if this is something that you're looking to achieve next year, maybe next year you're going to actually get started, take action, and build out some passive income streams, then come into the hub, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. Now, if you want to join for free, head on over to my website, www.sellyourbrillianceonline.com/community. As I said, it's completely free, and in there you'll be able to get access to some free resources that will help you get started today. Okay, so let's dive in to today's episode. Now, at the moment, I am releasing a mini series on how to plan and launch a profitable online course. And today's one is quite an important one, actually, because it's all about the one line that is going to influence people to buy your course. So it's quite an important step. Now, if you are just catching up, so maybe you've missed a few episodes, then in step 1, which is episode 136, I talked about how to choose the perfect topic for your online course. So choosing a topic that is actually going to sell and help you to bring in that income. Now, in step 2, we covered how to validate your idea so that you know there's going to be a demand for it, so you know you're going to be able to sell it. And then, so that's episode 137. And then in last week's episode 138, we talked about pricing and how to set a profitable price for your online course. So we've covered quite a lot so far, and now we're moving on to step 4, which is the one line that is literally going to make a difference when it comes to you selling your online course. And this is creating your course promise, which tends to get overlooked once they've got their topic and they have made the decision that they're going to create an online course. Then they're straight into planning it and outlining what their course looks like, and then into the creation. And actually at this point, we just want to pause a little bit and think about what the promise is that we're actually going to be making to our students. So that's what we're going to be talking about, because you can have the best idea in the world, you can have the most beautiful slides, and you can even have a great price point. But if your course promise isn't clear to your students, then people are not going to buy because they're not going to know what it is your course is going to do for them. So we want to make sure that we are being super clear and that we get those sales because our ideal student know that our course is going to deliver the result that they're looking to achieve. Your course promise is going to be the thing that is going to make somebody think that is what they need. That's the power of a course promise, which is why it's such an important line to include in your online course. So today I'm going to unpack what that actually looks like, why it does matter, and just a really simple formula that you can use to craft your own. And I'm just going to touch upon a few common mistakes that can kind of make some promises fall flat, which is what you really want to avoid. So, okay, let's start with why it actually matters. What is it about your course promise that is actually going to make a difference? Okay, so your course promise is essentially outlining the transformation that your online course is going to deliver. It needs to be clear. It needs to provide tangible results that somebody is going to achieve by the end. So at this point, I think there is a temptation to be a bit sort of woolly about what your online course is going to do, but actually it's not going to have the effect that's going to compel somebody to buy. So we want to get super clear on what is it that somebody's looking for so that when they come across your course promise, they know they want to give you their money. This is why it's really important, because this is where we're going to really offer up that clarity so they know what they're buying. Think of it like this. Your course promise is the destination. Your modules within your course is simply the map that's going to help your students to get there. And it's important because, and I say this quite a bit actually, especially in the masterclasses that I deliver, your audience are not buying an online course. They're time poor. They most likely have no interest in taking an online course. In fact, it's the last thing they want to be doing when they've got 1,000,001 things that they want to be getting on with. What they're actually going to be buying is a result. And that's what your course is going to be offering. And that's why your students are going to buy the course, because it's the result that they're going to be after. So you want to make sure that your course promise is being really clear about what that result is and the transformation that result is going to be delivering. Your course promise should make somebody think, that's exactly where I need to be. That's exactly what I need and what I'm looking for. When this is done right, it becomes the heartbeat of your marketing. Everything centers around this. It's what you use on your sales page. It's what you use in your emails, and even what you talk about when you are talking about your online course. So if you have been struggling to explain what your course actually does, or if people seem interested but they're just not buying, it's probably because your promise isn't strong enough. Maybe it's a little bit too vague and they're not entirely sure what they're actually going to be getting from it. Okay, so if you have an online course and, as I said, you are finding that you're not getting those sales, I would encourage you to have a look at what your promise says and see if you can strengthen that up. Now, there is a simple formula that you can use that will help you to create a compelling promise. I always use it and I share it with my clients and my members with their online course, and it works every time. So think about it with this framework. By the end of this course, you'll achieve a result in a specific time frame without a common frustration. So the things that you need to change is the achieved result, the specific time frame, and the common frustration, because that's going to be specific to you and the course that you're delivering. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that. A good framework would be, by the end of this course, you'll achieve a specific result in a specific time frame without a common frustration. Okay, so if I was going to be using that formula for one of my online courses, which is about creating an online course, then my course promise may be, by the end of this course, you'll create a profitable online course in 30 days without burnout or overwhelm. Okay, so I've added my specifics in there using that framework. So I just want to break it down a little bit more. Achieve result. What's the transformation your students will experience? Now, here you need to be specific and you need to be measurable. So what does that look like? In a specific time frame, how long is it going to take them to start seeing results? In my example, I said 30 days, but in your example, it could be a little quicker or it could take longer. You just need to get specific because this adds urgency and structure. And then without common frustration, in my example, I said burnout or overwhelm because that's really common when it comes to creating online courses. But what is your pain point that you are helping them to avoid? Okay, so just get really clear on what that looks like. So I'm just going to give you a few more examples. So as I said, by the end of this course, you'll create and launch your first profitable online course in just 30 days without tech overwhelm or needing a huge audience. So I could use that framework as well. Or by the end of this course, you'll book consistent clients through LinkedIn without spending hours on cold outreach. Or by the end of this course, you'll feel confident managing your finances without confusing spreadsheets or complicated software. So I've used that framework in those three examples so that each one has a structure, but it's also very specific as well. Now, this gives your potential students something tangible to grab onto. So by reading that, they're going to have a better idea as to what your course is actually going to be delivering. Now, your promise doesn't have to be perfect the first time that you create it. It may take you a few iterations to kind of get really clear. And it often includes an evolution as you refine your course and you understand the needs of your audience more. So what I would encourage you to do is start by writing a rough version today and ask yourself, what will my students be able to do by the end of my course? What will they have that they don't have right now? And how will they feel once they've completed it? Because the best course promise speaks to both the head and the heart. Because it might be that people think things through and weigh up the pros and cons in buying something, but sometimes it can actually be what the heart desires. And if you've got a course that really speaks to their heart, then you'll achieve the sale. I think it works really well when you combine practical results with emotional relief. So if somebody has been really struggling, for example, in their business, maybe they're not making sales, maybe they're not getting clients, maybe they're not making money, maybe they're just constantly in overwhelm, then you can really tap into the emotional side as well as the more practical side of showing them how to do something. And that'll work really well because it's almost like you're showing them empathy that you understand, but you're also giving them that practical guidance as well. And I think as humans, we want that. We want to feel supported and connected with the person that's created the course. Almost like they know what we're going through. They have empathy for what we're going through. They're going to infuse that throughout the course. Therefore, I want that because that's going to help me achieve the result that I'm looking for. Build a steady stream of clients. That kind of feeds into a practical result. And then you can add on without feeling salesy or burnt out, which is the emotional relief. So when we're creating that course promise, we're including the practical side, the practical results is going to be delivering, but also the emotional relief that it's going to be offering as well. And then if you can do that and you can do that well, then your course promise will become so magnetic, you'll start to get those sales. Now, I just want to touch upon some common mistakes. So some things that I encourage you to avoid when it comes to writing your course promise. Being too broad is mistake number one. Now, I've seen this many times. I've had meetings with people who have literally said to me, I'm not selling my online course. And then when I look at their marketing messaging, it is so broad that I don't really know what it is they're selling. Okay, so avoid being too broad at any time. Promises like grow your business or improve your mindset, they sound nice, but they're just not specific enough to sell. What you want to be doing is showing that you understand your audience. So if it's about growth, what type of growth? If it's about improving your mindset, what improvements are they going to make? So get really specific. Think of it in terms as I'm peeling an onion. There's going to be layers there. So if you're looking at growing your business, try and equate that to something very, very specific. Are you talking about financial? Are you talking about audience size? Are you talking about building a profitable ecosystem to grow your business? Are you talking about finding more clients? Get specific, because what you'll find for any topic, any subject, there'll be so many lanes off of it that what I think growth is, somebody else could think something differently. So the more specific you are, the less room there is for that confusion. Mistake 2 is over-promising. Don't fall into the trap of making your promise sound so good that it's too good to be true. For example, and I've seen this online, and honestly, it just makes my eyes roll. Make 10 grand in 7 days. Really? It might grab attention, but if it's not realistic for your target audience, it's going to destroy any trust that you've built. So instead, focus on actually what's achievable and believable. Because in the online space, there is a temptation, and I've seen this too many times, to make these silly promises that just take people down rabbit holes, that just lead to frustration. So whenever I see a headline that promises somebody to create 6 figures in their business, it's not going to be true, is it? It's what it may take me to earn 10 grand. Somebody else, it might take something else. I just think it's unrealistic. And actually, what it is that they're actually selling is a framework. And that framework is going to work for different people at different times, because there's going to be lots of different variables. So avoid over-promising and making unrealistic claims, because that's one way that you're just going to damage your brand online. So please don't do that. And then mistake 3 is leading with features instead of the transformation. And again, I've seen this so many times where people have said, buy my course, it's got 5 modules and I've got a really great workbook and I've got some bonus content that you can get access to. As I said earlier, people are not buying online courses because they want to do an online course. People are time poor. Their time is so valuable. They don't want to sit through stuff and waste hours of their day listening to training. What they want is a result that's going to help them resolve a challenge. So focus on the transformation and the results, because that's what they're going to buy. They're going to buy the outcome of those modules and worksheets. They're not going to buy it because of those modules and worksheets. You've got to remember that clarity sells where confusion doesn't. So we have to be really clear on what it is that we're offering, if your promise feels fuzzy, then your audience are not going to take action. Not because they don't trust you, but because they don't understand what it is they're getting. So think of your course promise as the foundation of your marketing. It's going to tell your audience exactly what it is they're going to achieve in a specific time frame, and it's also going to tell them what frustrations that they can finally leave behind. And if you can use that formula and you can include the practical with the emotional relief, then you'll have something that will be really compelling. You'll appeal to your ideal student and you'll start to generate those sales by selling your online course. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. I hope it's given you some clarity and sparked some new ideas. If you found it helpful, then I'd love for you to share it with a friend or a fellow entrepreneur who's also building their online business, because it might be exactly what they need to hear today. And if this episode has you thinking that you are now ready to start turning your expertise into income, then I'd love to invite you into my free community, the Digital Creators Community Hub, where you'll get access to free tools, resources, and you'll be the first to hear about my monthly masterclass. All you need to do is head on over to www.sellyourbrillianceonline.com/community. I will be back next week with another episode, but until then, have a wonderful week. Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Online Business Uncovered. If today's conversation has sparked an idea or gave you a dose of clarity, then please make sure to check out the show notes for all the links and resources mentioned. New episodes land every Thursday, so hit follow or subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you're loving the show, a quick rating or review goes a long way in helping more brilliant entrepreneurs like you find this show. Until next time, keep showing up, keep sharing your brilliance, and remember, freedom in business is possible, and it starts with taking the next right step.